Hello, friends. If you're new, I'd like to welcome you. Why don't you go down and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any episodes. For my fans and subscribers, I really do appreciate you. Today's topic, Jehovah's Witnesses, charges of sedition. Not much else I need to say. Let's get on with the video. So, before I start, I would like to say I do not approve of any government persecuting anybody for their religious beliefs. Now, organizations are another thing. For you Jehovah's Witnesses, I blame their leadership, not you. According to dictionary.com, sedition can be defined as any act that incites discontent or rebellion against a government. Since they have been accused by so many groups as being seditious, an important question we must ask is, are they? Jehovah's Witnesses have always denied this charge. After World War I, Rutherford and his associates were exonerated of their convictions, and the U.S. never retried them. During World War II, Great Britain refused to ban them, and the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that they were not seditious. Likewise, Australia held that to ban them was illegal. Shortly afterward, Canada lifted their ban on the religion. In 1950, Canada's Supreme Court ruled that the Jehovah's Witnesses were innocent of sedition in the case of Boucher versus the King. Besides the courts, others have also defended the witnesses. Many liberal Americans defended them against mob violence just before the United States entered World War II. This sprung from the Supreme Court decision that witness children could be forced to salute the flag or be expelled from the school. Given the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court, the question of sedition seemed genuine. However, many professional groups, including the American Civil Liberties Union, and even many of the clergy, helped the witnesses by saying that they were law-abiding citizens. So, I have a genuine question of my own. Why on earth would, quote-unquote, Satan's system come to the defense of Jehovah's Witnesses if it was hell-bent on destroying them? Russell believed that secular states had fallen out of God's favor, so Christ would destroy them at Armageddon. He taught that Christians should remain separate from the world, meaning that Bible students should not vote, hold public office, or enlist in the military. However, while waiting for the kingdom of God, his followers should obey the secular authorities with some restrictions. He believed that God had granted the government's temporary right to rule. This led to some ambivalence on Russell's part as to Christian duties toward the state. For example, in democratic societies, voting is a choice. So under these circumstances, Bible students should not vote. However, if the law compels persons to vote, Bible students should vote. His followers should also obey military conscription and non-combatant roles. With the U.S. and the UK at peace, and with no conscription, this policy didn't mean much. But when World War I started, Russell took a firmer stance. Bible students refused military service as combatants. After Russell's death, the obedience doctrine caused problems. For example, how far should they obey the law? Under Rutherford, this position hardened. The community was to obey governments unless their laws conflicted with God's laws. How this supposedly helped through World War II, I have no idea, since not only is there no injunction against war in the Bible, but God occasionally even demanded it. Many nations have established religions, such as the Church of England in Great Britain. In such nations, watchtower teachings have often been seen as subverting the true faith and an attack on authority. Many official Catholic countries and Greece felt this way until recently. In most Muslim countries, the teachings are still considered subversive. Even in countries without established religions, like the United States, JWs run into nationalism. In times of stress, most countries, even democracies, revert to staunch nationalism. When JWs refuse military or alternative service, they are branded enemies of the state. JWs experience opposition to public preaching. I have to say I agree with this opposition, but not to the point of persecution. In my view, you can believe anything you want. I generally don't care. What I object to is one forcing their beliefs on others. Even though the fact that the Watchtower opposed the war was used against them in 1918 and 1919, their campaign against the clergy was the primary reason they got into trouble. Their active proselytizing has angered religious and secular authorities and sometimes even the general public. In the U.S., they were often charged with selling books or magazines without a license or violating Sunday laws. For those who don't know what Sunday laws are, some states have laws that restricted commerce on Sundays. These are now a thing of the past. Communist nations banned their preaching outright, while Spain outlawed their activities until the late 1960s. Also, their preaching has caused violence against them. This has not always been the case for specifically preaching, but it has often been the case. At times, this can be due to JW tactlessness, but not all the time. I do not endorse violence of any kind, and I am not blaming the victim here. People resent being told that unless they accept the teachings, that they are doomed. Others don't like the fact that JWs can find proof texts, no matter how misleading these proof texts are. Still, others tire of their persistence even after they have been told to leave the householder alone. JWs are well known for refusing to serve in the military, even in places like the US and Canada during World War I. They were severely penalized for refusing the draft. Most nations today recognize the legitimacy of conscientious objection and offer alternative civilian service. However, JWs are forced by the governing body to refuse this alternative service because the governing body says it is just a substitute for military service. So men end up going to jail for nothing. Another important factor to consider is their refusal to participate in patriotic activities such as saluting the national flag. From 1935 to the present day, they have refused to salute flags or stand for national anthems. This got them into trouble with the American schools, which expelled witness kids for this. At first, the U.S. Supreme Court sided with the schools in 1940, but reversed this ruling in 1943 with their ruling in Barnett versus West Virginia Board of Education. In Canada, the government used flag saluting to impose the 1940 ban, but this wasn't the real issue, according to Jim Penton. After World War II, this issue would cause problems for witness children in countries as diverse as the Philippines, Zambia, Costa Rica, and occasionally the U.S. and Canada. The government in Malawi began persecution of the JWs for their refusal to buy party cards in a one-party state. So basically, these cards were just ID cards. What happened to them is inexcusable, but sometimes they do bring their own persecution on themselves. I'm not going to go into what happened to the witnesses in Malawi. Go to JW Facts and look up the Mexico-Malawi scandal for that. In 1972, at least 50 JWs were murdered by the Malawi Youth League and the Young Pioneers. About 21,000 fled to Zambia, where they were held in a refugee camp, and many died from malnutrition, lack of water, and mistreatment. Things weren't much better in communist European countries. As early as 1946, the Soviet Union deported witnesses to Siberia. In East Germany, many died in prison due to maltreatment, and Romania wasn't any better. Well, friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, press the subscribe button, and if you want to know when I come out with new content, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. My Twitter, Discord, email, and PayPal links are in the description, along with the source that I used for this episode. If you wish to get in touch with me, best way is Twitter, next is email. Also, please leave comments in the comment section. Not only do I love hearing from you, but it also triggers the YouTube algorithm. If you have any requests, you may leave those down in the comments as well. Keep learning and searching for truth. Here are a few videos from my library. If you have not watched them yet, go ahead and watch them and tell me what you think. Until next time, friends, stay safe and goodbye.